I'd love to hear about your experience dancing with Cécile Bushidi as part of Yale Dance Lab's Transposition project.
Cécile was very open to making it a choreographic experience that, drew upon creativity from students who maybe are not as familiar with using movement to describe certain aspects of what they're trying to communicate. I have studied dance for many years and only recently was introduced to choreographic tools very formally, like repetition and retrograde, things that I had to learn in the classroom. And here were people who, by nature and through facilitation in this one class, were able to learn those expressions immediately. And it was really moving to see that.
I think what really made it unique was our emphasis on projection of whatever we were focusing on. So in our case, it was through the class 20th Century African Dance in the Diaspora.
Can you talk a little bit about the choreographer's process of generating material? Were there any particular exercises that they used to generate choreography?
Yeah, so one of the main sources of inspiration for the choreography was modern African dance, and very specifically West African dance. And so all of it had to do with inspiring ourselves from those to create our own movements, which would represent what we wanted them to be. So whether that was, for example, one of the movements that we wanted to show was actually drawing letters that are parts of words using any part of your body. And while those are not necessarily clear when you are seeing it, that was the intention, and that was an idea that we were inspired from traditional dance.
Cécile came up with a few words for us to write a poem about, and each student then crafted a movement statement that usually cycled through a few times. And so in the end, the poem was a repetition of movement and vocabulary interlaced with one another.
Wow, that's so cool. Do you remember the words that were given to all of you?
One student spoke about a river and how the current carries him and pulls him back. Another student spoke about not giving up in times of isolation. And right now I'm very struggling to remember the words, but I in my head I can picture exactly what they were doing, which I think honestly speaks to probably this process, that it was very much an embodied and visual project rather than something that was isolated into one discipline of language, which was really cool.
Could you just share one highlight from your experience or a moment you found particularly interesting or challenging?
One of the highlights for me was seeing everyone, even though we were on Zoom, dancing together and trying to get everything to match in terms of time, which was a challenge at certain points. But it was really nice to also see members of the Yale community coming together for this project.
I knew nothing about Cécile, and I knew nothing about Quentin too, and the other student who was in our group. But there was very little awkwardness in the original interactions. You bought in immediately and you just made this work with people, and that was really engaging.
Yeah, I feel like it's all of us are all over the world right now. So did you find a sense of connection or community with the dance members who were participating?
Definitely when I watched the other people perform their poems, I felt like I was connecting to their work and what they wanted to say. And also Cécile was really funny. She was a good teacher, and sometimes she would say things that would crack me up, and that was a good type of connection too.
Yeah, in my case, I would say it came a lot with when Dora came in and started dancing with us, because the other members are within my class, so I had gotten to know them over the past few months. And so I think that really seeing Dora take up the idea of making a dance poem within, I'd say, about 10, 15 minutes, and really getting the moves down and getting everything situated so fast was impressive. And then you got to see that everyone had their own take on our similar idea, and that was great. It was an opportunity to bond and to see how everyone's mind worked when we were given a similar prompt.